Welcome to the RSP Film Room. I'm Matt Waldman with the Rookie Scouting Portfolio. Today we're going to take a look at Aidan O'Connell. I watched about 150 snaps of his over the course of 3 games. I'm going to give you almost 30 plays, almost 20% of those snaps that kind of show you what I think O'Connell's game is about and where I think that can go. I talk about that in a little bit more detail at my footballguys.com article, The Gut Check, on Aidan O'Connell and the Raiders offense that you can find on Wednesday afternoons. All right, so O'Connell, let's take a look at this. I formation, you're going to see play fake, 3-step drop, and throw to this post or deep slant to Jakobi Meyers. I think it's a nice play. You take a look, first of all, 3 steps, gets planted, sees the linebacker sucked in by the Josh Jacobs play action, and he gets the ball between and over those defenders, a little bit of height so he can get it over them, and it's a nice play for 25 yards for Meyers. So a couple things that I want to note about this is when you look at a quarterback's feet, one of the common things that I see with Aidan O'Connell is that his feet are a little bit on the jittery side, but not in that way that most people would think, because oftentimes I talk about the feet being really the window into the eyes and the mind of how a quarterback processes information. And people will look at his jittery feet and say, it's not confident, he's worried about pressure. I would argue that while he's going to be concerned about pressure, because you see that backside pressure right off here, and he's probably reading that pre-snap, getting a chance. He sees and he has his eye on the potential for that pressure, and he knows it's a play action look, and that he's going to need Josh Jacobs to make that play. The fact that he's dropping back and Jacobs is already pivoting towards the backside defender, you know that he realizes this pressure's coming. But the other part is that he's just in a hurry to get this play to happen. Peyton Manning had what you would call kind of happy feet, but that was more from the motivation of, let me get this ball out because I know I have an opening, not let me get this ball out because I'm afraid. I think O'Connell has a similar approach when I watch multiple throws, is that his feet are a little jittery, but they are still precise. 3-step drop planted in the ground, sees the opening, gets that ball out with good placement over the defenders, a little high for Meyers, but he's placing it where it's an easy catch. Good job here. And let's take a look at this play. You're going to see again little play action, not heavily emphasized on this, but you see him hitch up in the pocket, and he's behind his receiver Davante Adams on this particular play. Not an accurate throw, but looking at the feet, 5-step drop, really sticks it well, feels the pressure from the middle of the field and off the edge. 2 steps to hitch, plants, gets rid of the ball. So I like a lot of the process here. The end result is that it's not pinpoint accurate. And when you look at the toe, that toe is pointed at the end here where it needs to be to kind of guide that ball, but maybe it's a little, maybe not pointed exactly. You can see that it kind of rotates around as he throws. So really the toe point was a little bit too far behind here, and when you're looking at accuracy, one thing that you can look at is the midline of the back foot and the point of the toe. If they're both aligned towards the target, the midline is pointed towards where you want that target to be. The toe right here is pointed a little bit more to the inside. And you can see as that ball arrives, it's maybe not quite as far along as it needs to be, and it's behind Davante Adams. But again, I like the feet here are calmer than the last time. You see him slide a little bit and climb and then get that ball out. And he has the right idea, just the execution wasn't there on this play. Now, one of the areas where you can really stop O'Connell pretty effectively as a defense is if you can get multiple points pressure in the pocket. That's the case with a lot of pocket quarterbacks, and that's okay because pocket quarterbacks can pick you out and they pick you apart and also operate well in tight spaces. This is one of those plays where he just doesn't have the room to be able to throw. They get the pressure quickly, and this is a thing that you see commonly in this game against the Chargers. He does slide to an open spot, but gets bumped by the edge pressure, and the ball comes out right there. Now, one of the areas where O'Connell can improve is that he can get fixated on a receiver and try and squeeze it into a tight spot. This is the case with Hunter Renfrow on a 3rd and 12, where he's anticipating Renfrow basically right here to work to depth against this dropping linebacker and then turn in back to the left side. And he's firing that ball at the top of the stem into the break. And Renfrow gets a little bit wrapped up here by that dropping defender, and the defender in the left flat right here comes across and also cuts it off. So he's a little fixated on this, trying to fit it into a tight window. He did this very well with Charlie Jones at Purdue, fitting it into tight windows, but the NFL, he's going to have to gauge when, even with anticipation, some of these throws are kind of prohibitive to make. Whereas if he finishes his drop and looks at the triangle here, he's got a receiver in Davante Adams that is probably more open. He could have done a better job of maybe coming off of this right here and then pivoting to this throw and seeing, whether he could make this throw in the middle. If he doesn't like the leverage of this outside defender, he can check it down to Austin Hooper. I know it's 3rd and 12, but take the safe play there on that route. The other thing that he could have done is, instead of going to Adams, he could have come off of Renfrow right here and checked it down to his back. Again, 3rd and 12, but you're taking a safe play backed up in your own area, giving your team more room to punt if your running back doesn't get the first down. So there are a couple more options that he had here that he probably should have taken, and it may come with time, but he's always had a tendency to try and fit the needle, kind of thread the needle on certain plays that he shouldn't. But I like the patience. I just don't like that he can be too patient and hung up on the player. That's the bad end of patience. I do love the anticipation that he shows. You're going to see this off a 2-step drop, and right here, he reads the coverage triangle, 1, 2, 3, and he gets that ball out at the top of the stem for his receiver. Gets a positive play on this. About 7 or 8 yards, and it's a tight window for error, and he's able to manage that because the ball's already out as the receiver's turning, makes the catch, takes the hit. Good job. So you like the anticipation, very good. You like the willingness to fit it into tight windows, but sometimes you can be too aggressive here. Here's 2 defenders in coverage right here, and he's going for it no matter what with Davante Adams. I understand Davante Adams is a star, but 2nd and 2, you're going to take your shot. All right, fine. But that may not be the best choice of that. Now, Adams comes down with it, but he also has to commit pass interference to do it. So, you could look at this and say, look, I love the fact that he could fit it in there, and he's got a great player, and he let his player be great. But it didn't really work out. His player also, on this, I don't see where the interference is. Probably right here. He gives a little bit of a shove right there to make that space. So you're not giving your receiver a lot of room for error here. This is just one of those plays that maybe you look at this and you check down, or you try to escape the pocket, and have a little bit of open space, or throw the ball away. He can be a little too aggressive at times, but that's okay. You want aggressive downfield throwers, and you like that he has faith in Adams. You just want to see him read the leverage a little better and know when not to target. This is a well-covered play by the Chargers, no matter which way you look at it. Finishes this drop up here. Hunter Renfrow is going to be working to the out route. The outside receiver is well covered by the safety and the defensive back. You can see that the leverage here doesn't look good, and now pressure is coming. So if you're looking at the deep side of the field, this is well covered, and yes, he's going to take the sack as a result. Now, he does get away from the pressure just enough to be able to get to this side, but this is well covered too. So no matter which way he starts, the coverage was good, the pressure came, and he's not the type of quarterback that's going to survive long in the pocket after avoiding the first man. He's going to have to get the ball out quicker, by rule, because he's not extremely mobile. And in this situation, he had no choice. I mean, he got away from one, and then the pressure was all over him. He didn't do anything wrong there. It's just the nature of his game. He's not a highly mobile player. And so if you can get good coverage and the pressure comes with multiple points of pressure, you're probably going to beat this offense. This is another nice display of anticipation to an outside receiver. He waits till the top of the stem, and the ball's already beginning its release, and the ball's coming out as the receiver begins his break. That's exactly how you want to see that. May not be a perfect throw in terms of placement, but the anticipation gets him a long way, gives his receiver time to react. Well, let's take a look at this final drive in a 7-point game. They're behind by 7, fourth quarter. Aidan O'Connell doing some nice work overall. Slides away from the interior pressure, ends up with a little more room thanks to a block. And he comes across and finds his receiver Renfro. Does a good job here. Watch Renfro, he's got a little bit late shift, and he's going to work under this defense. Watch him drop back looking left. He sees that his outside receiver Adams is not going to be open. Slides away from the interior pressure. Reads the leverage. Deep safety. If you're going to look at the coverage triangle, deep safety, you got the underneath defender covering the middle of the field, and then you have the flat defender covering Renfro across. And at this point, he resets his feet, and he knows this is going to be open based on that leverage read. It's just instant. He sees the leverage right here, plants, and the ball's coming out. So he reads this very well, and he gets the first down off of it and gets them in field goal position. This is where O'Connell can get too aggressive, and it's a pressure moment. You can see it. It's, a 2nd and 10. Oh, wrong one. All right, film jumped on me a little bit. 3rd and 10. Take a look at this play. You're going to see him get a little too aggressive here. He's going to look to the middle of the field. He knows that Adams is well covered. He pivots over, and he anticipates Jakobi Meyers right here, thinking, I can fit this ball in. I mean, after all, you've got 2 defenders in the middle of the field on Hunter Renfro. Got a safety over top. Let me squeeze this in there. But you can see that one of the defenders on Renfro peels back, and this ball's got to be placed in a manner where it's a little ahead for Myers, but at the same time, the defender's able to get back into that lane too. So none of this was really a great decision in terms of being able to thread this needle. It's too tight of a needle to thread, and he was behind the receiver, and you can see that he has a pattern of being a little bit behind break paths with receivers. And part of that may be mechanics. Part of that may be him accounting for the defenders here in this area. What you would have liked to have seen on 3rd and 10 when you're playing a 4-down series, because this is a 4-down series down by 7 late in the game, is you might as well just wait for your tight end to peel off here and give him the check down right here. Austin Hooper, give him the ball. Let him get 5 to 6 more yards, get you closer to that, and you get a 4th and short. You can look at it from this standpoint. Again, tight window. I like that he was looking. He goes to the next read. But look at how tight that was. No shot. And there was your open man. But next play, 4th and 10. Watch O'Connell make up for that. That was a rough play. But he comes back looking towards his right. He reads the triangle here and knows that's not going to be open. But he does wait for it a little bit longer than you would expect. He's hoping that maybe something's going to work across here. You have the check down here, but that's not going to work. Feels the pressure, climbs, and then he looks and sees Adams. And Adams is at a point where he realizes that he's going to be able to throw this ball to the outside. And he gets that ball out with nice anticipation and gets it up to Adams. Not a perfect throw, but in a catchable place. And this is a nice adjustment off of the fact that he begins his read looking to the right, feeling the pressure, sliding, turning, seeing Adams right here and knowing that Adams is heading outside and giving that ball only where Adams can make the play. Now all that looks pretty good, but then the game-sealing interception on this little sprint pass, and this is kind of a play that you see as a staple of the West Coast offense, Joe Montana to Jerry Rice all the time. This was the type of play you would see. Montana to Rice, they would hit this all through my childhood. Okay, little sprint play. The problem is Asante Samuel Jr., he sees this. He's playing outside shade on Adams, and he's just going to cut this off. He just sits on it, and there you go, game over. And so you're, as a quarterback on this play, you've got to, as you're working outside, you got to read this outside leverage, and it's first down. Throw this ball away. It's not open. He tries to fit the needle in, and that's something that he's going to have to get better at. Again, is not getting too aggressive, knowing when to give up on a play. And in this situation, he would have had 3 more downs to make it work. Now, moving on to the Bears, you're going to see that this wasn't a start for O'Connell. He comes in the middle of the game, and they're down, and he's not exactly accurate to begin the game. I mean, again, he's coming in cold, so we're going to account for that. But he does read the void correctly here. He just doesn't get the ball to the depth that it needs to be. It's a little higher for a shorter receiver. Renfro breaks it at a certain depth. He throws it a little bit deeper, higher than it should be, forces Renfro to make an adjustment that's just very difficult to make. Now, a few plays later, after he had a few other throws that were inaccurate, he reads the pressure well, does a good job of staying patient with Renfro in the face of the blitz, and just waiting a couple of steps, because right here, he could let this ball go, but it'd be way too early. So he's got to wait a couple of steps with that pressure coming, let the blocker do his thing, and then get that ball out at the top of the stem. And it's already out as the receiver makes the break, leads him appropriately, gets some yardage. So from this perspective, again, you like the patience. The good side is he can be patient. He can allow routes to develop. He'll stand in there against the pressure. The bad side of it is that he can wait too long for certain receivers, try to fit balls into areas that he shouldn't. These are areas that he's got to get a little bit more calibrated to become a really strong veteran starter. This one's just a bad throw. You're going to see an opposite field throw to Jakobi Meyers on the fade, and it's just too shallow. He just can't get it. He doesn't get enough on the ball, and the defender is actually in better position to be the receiver, number 33. I think that's Jalen Johnson, who's a pretty good cornerback, and just reads that all the way. Whereas, you know, if he just didn't get enough depth on this, because Myers begins his fade right here, and he throws it more of it's like a go route. But I think it's that he doesn't look at it as a route like that. I think he just doesn't get enough on the ball. Now, I like certain aspects of his leverage read. Some of them can be a little too aggressive, but some also, he sees that he knows that Jakobi Meyers is facing inside shade on this route. So when he drops back and immediately turns, he anticipated that. He anticipated this. He's not reading this that quickly. He has to know this pre-snap. So pre-snap, he sees that, and he's eyeballing it. He turns back. You know, the center takes the ball. And when he throws this ball, he places it really to where Myers has to stop so he doesn't get, you know, cut off by the defender and he can spin inside. It's maybe not as close to the back shoulder as you'd like, but it is enough that Myers is able to make the stop, and turn, and make the catch. Can be a little sharper, but he's got the right idea. So I like where this is going. Now we're going to get back to a game that he actually started again, so he gets his second start. Or at least, actually, this is his first start, but his second, you know, longer period of time in a game. And he does a good job here under pressure, knowing that he's got pressure coming, that he's got receivers that are both going to be breaking outside from the inside. And while I would have loved for him to take maybe Hooper here on this was a safer throw, maybe also with the defender in the lane, he mapped this out and felt like this is the better throw to Mayer. It's a little high, but he gets it out there and it's safe. Does a good job, you know, recognizing and making the play. A little bit of a jump pass there. Not perfect, but, you know, again, good enough right there. This is a nice patient play too. He looks to his first read in Adams, sees the coverage of the two inside-outside defenders, immediately comes off that. You know, this wide route probably not going to work out very well here. If he tries to throw it with the anticipation he needs to, the defensive back's going to come off of that route to Myers and cut off Jacobs if he can fit it over the linebacker. So he shows patience. He climbs, and then he begins his throw at the top of the stem. The only problem with this play is that it's a little bit too high and away from the receiver. But it's a good choice, good patience. The placement just needs to be a little bit better. Let's take a look at it one more time here. Again, with the feet, can't get quite enough over it. His feet are kind of wide here. You know, kind of comes over the top a little bit hard. It's just going to be a little bit more precise transitioning from one to the next so that his feet can be under him. Maybe a little bit better. I don't know. I think more than anything, he just drives this ball a little bit higher and harder than he needed to. I wouldn't even argue with his footwork too much there. You can definitely see him getting a little bit sharper with where to go with his checkdowns. Looks downfield, sees this receiver covered. This receiver's covered. Immediately turns and gets it out to his tight end in the flat. Get positive yards and the first down. This is a nice job reading the field quickly. You're going to see him take the play fake, and he's looking over to this two-route combination with Adams and Hunter Renfrow. Takes the drop, sees the two defenders come off on Adams, and this leaves Renfrow wide open. Immediately makes the throw, allows Renfrow to get some yardage inside the 5. So again, you know, reading the field well, doing it during the play fake there with the read. Sees the two, gets the ball out. Nice work. You also like the aggression when he has an opportunity. Single high safety to the left hash, one-on-one against Trey Tucker. He's not obsessed with Davante Adams to the point that he's going to predetermine a throw to a guy that's likely going to have two people covering him. That's something that he did against the Chargers a bit, but the coverage was a little bit different and not as simple in terms of what else he could do. But play action here, he knows he's got Trey Tucker. Gets that 7-step drop. Tucker's wide open. One hitch and throw. Has to maybe extend a little bit for it, but, you know, very good throw overall. Big play. 50 yards. Beautiful. At this point, the Raiders have control of the game. So, you know, what I'm going to show you, though, still are some nice plays from O'Connell where you can see that he's reading the field and he's being patient with his receiver. You know, Adams here, and gets the ball into a tight window. So, again, you see that he's aggressive, willing to throw into tight windows. It's dropped here, but I like the fact that he will come off one read too. You can see that he's reading the outside of the field. Let's take a look at it one more time. He reads the outside here, and then he you know, follows that route and basically sees that it's breaking open and gets the ball into that window. So when he can kind of learn which tight windows to target and which ones to get, you know, that he's just to get out of the play, I think you're going to see some positive results here. And I mean positive results long term for his game. I think that there's potential for this guy to develop into a starter. Let's take a look at this one. There's a nice little check down. Does a good job here on 3rd and 5. And I like the fact, again, that he's finding the check down in this game. Looks to his left, sees that's reasonably well covered. Now he's looking at 16, sees that covered as well. Maybe he looks downfield here into this triangle, and he sees that the defenders have dropped. So he then waits for the check down at the appropriate point and allows his running back to make that play. Now you could probably argue, what about number 3 here? But this is a difficult throw on 3rd and 5. Why not just take the safe play and let your running back get it? And I think that that's something that Desmond Ridder didn't always understand and would try and make a harder throw in Atlanta. You're seeing O'Connell do a good job with this here. Now, this is one of those plays where I think he kind of predetermined that he wanted to go deep to Adams here with the safety on the same side of the field. A little more dangerous throw. Where on the opposite side of the field of this safety, you've got, this receiver on 44 who's going to fade outside. This looks like a good opportunity to turn and throw this fade and let 16 run under that ball. So this is one of those where maybe he needs to, not be quite as aggressive here, or be able to read the situation and go, you know what? It's my deep route on the other side of this safety is the one that I should probably be targeting. So maybe I should look there, get this safety moved a little bit more, and then come back to this right. This is a nice read here because you got the safety inverted over here, and he's going to cover the back out of the backfield. But he plays off that, looking to that side to get that safety to drive a little bit, and then goes over the top. Just a little too high maybe for Myers, though you would have hoped Myers was able to come down with that, possibly just a little bit too high and wide. But you can see that O'Connell is finding open men. He's able to see good openings in the middle of the field where he reads the leverage immediately and sees where the hole's going to be and gets that ball in stride underneath. That's nice work. So you can see, there's progress being made in terms of where to let go of the ball, and he's had some good throws throughout his rookie year on some of these underneath routes over the middle, reading the leverage immediately and getting the ball out. This is one of them. Good timing here. All right, let's take a look at this play. I think I didn't get a chance to show it here, but I like the placement here. You got the pressure from the safety, beating Abdullah, throw off the back foot just as the receiver's making his break, and watch where he places this. Linebacker has a chance to undercut it if he doesn't throw it high enough. So he throws it high enough. It's just out of the reach for Adams to make the catch with enough control. We're going to take a look at it one more time here. Just beyond the reach, but I love the idea. I love the execution overall. Was just a hair too high. And again, this last play I'm going to show you is to Hunter Renfrow. Again, this is a schemed play, and he has to know when to come off of these because, pre-snap he sees the pressure and he just gets tricked here. They're showing A-gap pressure, pre-snap, and then late in the pre-snap process, all these guys kind of fly off of that and head towards the receiver. And Renfrow basically has no shot at this. Probably shouldn't have been thrown, but I think he got baited by the defense. It's probably better play by the defense, showing that you have what looks like an all-out blitz from, 7 defenders here, and it turns out that 3 of them basically drop back, 2 significantly into that flat. And knowing that there's help dropping here, it still allows this flat defender to really play this aggressively on that. So some of these pre-snap kind of schemed plays, he has to look at the pre-snap defense and probably learn to recognize these a little bit better, because he can kind of force some schemed plays where this is the only real outcome of what he's looking for here, and force those so that when he forces these, the defense can often read them pre-snap and sniff them out. And he's got to be better at knowing that the defense has sniffed these out. But overall, I like what I see from Aidan O'Connell. I'm impressed again with the aggression, with the tight window throwing, his ability to read the field. I think that he's making good progress as a player who will at least be a journeyman contributor in the NFL, as either a top reserve who can come into games and give you starter quality play for stretches with a good offense around him, or maybe even develop into more than that. So I can understand why Raiders fans are wondering if this is a guy they should be giving a bigger chance to. Certainly the Raiders think that, because they're letting him play the rest of the season as a starter, as they should, so they can see what this kid has, kind of like what the Texans did with Davis Mills, even though that didn't quite work out. Certainly worked out for Brock Purdy, so look across the bay. Maybe they have a player that they have something to work with, and I think they do. We'll see if he can continue to get better. Thanks again for watching. For more RSP Film Room videos, you can check out my YouTube channel, Matt Waldman's RSP Film Room, on my site, www.mattwaldmanrsp.com.